Can you remember a time when someone did a purely selfless act on your behalf? And you were just so grateful that here's a person that comes, they have nothing to benefit from what they've done, but purely to help me, they've invested in doing this for me. It's such a beautiful thing. That is the height of the beauty of a person when we do an act of selflessness. In fact, sometimes when people have done acts that were purely for me, they did it purely on my behalf with absolutely nothing to benefit from it. My mind wondered, why did they do this? Because my mind could not compute that someone was simply doing it purely for another person. There must have been some agenda. Sometimes we can't even accept that someone will actually do a selfless act. That's how unusual a selfless act is. This actually is the definition of what a Rebba is. A Rebba is someone who has put themselves in a constant state of selflessness, where they are constantly thinking about their divine purpose, what God put them in this world for, their mission, the person standing in front of them, whoever it may be, and that's why they can be entirely consumed in what is going on in another person's life, because they are in this constant state of being in touch with their soul, which is being in touch with our purpose, our mission, and focusing on that without any personal agenda. It's just something magnificent to behold. And this is what the Rebbe encourages and really pushes for every single one of us to experience more and more of in our life. Because while we may not be a Rebbe in the fullest extent of it, where we are in a constant state of selflessness, we can practice repeated moments of selflessness, which become more and more frequent, which are, we can say, selfless moments or Rebbe moments. That's what they are. The Rebbe was once asked in 1960 by a group of college students what the purpose of a Rebbe is. And he said the purpose of a Rebbe is to help every individual turn on their switch that connects them to the power station. That there is a source of energy. We all are connected to that energy. When we open ourselves up to it, we have access to it. And in that same conversation, the Rebbe, the individual asked the Rebbe about a Rebbe performing miracles. And we all know how many unbelievable things the Rebbe has done through his life, which are miraculous. And the Rebbe did something very interesting in his response. He deflected from himself, and he put it on the person who was asking in his response by saying that what is a miracle? A miracle is something that happens in this world which is beyond any calculation. You would never be able to calculate that this being done with this would result in this. That's a calculation, right? A miraculous event is when we would never calculate that would happen. It's something which is miraculous, unbelievable, right? Unbelievable, something unbelievable that happened. Everything that happens in this world, the Rebbe explained, is really connected to the higher dimensions of reality, and we are just experiencing it, this one dimension, which is the dimension we can say possibly of nature. However, when we experience a miracle, we're experiencing something in our realm as it is in a higher realm where there isn't the cloak of nature, but there's the more explicit and revealed presence of God. That is what a miracle is. And the Rebbe explained that every time that we study Torah, that we do a mitzvah, that we actually choose to connect our lives more and more with the divine, with God, with the infinite, with the higher realms, what ends up happening is it starts showing up more in our lives. The more selfless we become, the more transparent we are to the infinite energy of God, and suddenly miracles are happening. And we start seeing things which are surprising, because we would never be able to calculate that such a thing would happen. The Rebbe was essentially telling the person, you be a Rebbe as much as you can be. Be this selfless being, by being selfless to the purpose God created you for, and you will see the miracles that you are seeing through me. There's a fascinating story where there was a gentleman, an English gentleman by the name of Freddie Hager, who came to see the Rebba in a private meeting. And when he met the Rebba asked him if he is from the famous Vishnitz dynasty, because the Hasidic masters of the Vishnitz dynasty, their last name is Hager. And he said, yes, indeed, I am from that family. And in fact, my grandfather was a Hasidic master, was a Rebba. And so the Rebba asked him, do you know what a Rebba is? And he was taken aback by the question. He wasn't expecting that question. And he was quiet, he was silent, which sometimes is wise when you're asked certain questions. So the Rebbe asked him a second time and a third time, and he remained silent. So the Rebbe said, I will tell you what a Rebbe is. The very first Hasidic Rebbe was the Baal Shem Tov, Rabbi Yisrael Baal Shem Tov, the founder of the Hasidic movement. And the Baal Shem Tov had a custom that he would never let any money stay over in his house overnight. If he had any money left at the end of the day, he would make sure to give it to a Jew who needs it. Which means that he would never let money sleep overnight in his house, and before he would put his head down to go to sleep, he made sure that that money was given to someone else. And he said a Rebbe is someone who gives away everything he has to serve others. And then the Rebbe invited him by asking him, would you like to be a Rebbe? And the Rebbe was essentially saying that he can choose to be a Rebbe. Perhaps not in a constant state as a Rebbe is, but we can all have moments of being a Rebbe. When we study Hasidic philosophy, practically every mimer, every Hasidic discourse, which is a deep analysis of the divine, comes to the subject of being selfless, of being egoless, of turning our identity from a self-identity into the identity of I am a servant of God. My will is God's will. That is actually spiritually the spiritual state that we strive for, and that Chassidus encourages us towards. And that's why the source of all negativity Chassidus teaches us is the ego, is selfishness. When we think about our Rebbe, we have to realize something that is enormous. We are now 30 years away from when the Rebbe was living. We are commemorating the Rebbe's 30th yahrzeit. And there's something astounding to pay attention to. And that is that 30 years after the Rebbe is no longer with us, the Rebbe is still influencing young people who never even saw him to commit their lives, to act selflessly, and to move to all different places in the world, following the direction of the Rebbe as the Rebbe instructed when he was living, and living their lives accordingly. Because when someone truly lives selflessly, and there is no agenda, and there is no ego, then their words are timeless. Because there is nothing that holds back or limits what they're doing or what they're saying. And their influence goes and goes and grows and grows. And we, to the extent that we are willing to and that we can be this expression of selflessness. And this is what the Rebbe asks of every one of us. May we live moments which are Rebbe moments. Selfless, putting ourselves to the side, and just being there for the mission in front of us, for the person that is before us.